And we're none.
Okay, and we're live.
Thank you very much, Carl. Good morning, everyone. This is what a beautiful day here in Finch, and again, we're doing our meeting virtual for our listener and for our viewer. Of course, we have a full suite of staff, and we have the executives are here in Finch with our general manager, Angela Coleman. And we'd like to start our meeting this morning as a board of directors for the South Nation Conservation Authority. Before we move forward, I do have an introduction, and we do have a new board member. I'm going to give my time to Mario, our new the mayor of Clarence and Rockland, and he is our new board member replacing our dear friend, and he will be missed, Mr. Desjardins, Guy Desjardins. Most of you know who he is. I'm going to give Mario the floor to introduce himself and briefly and say hi and welcome Mario to the board of directors on behalf of the executive, our staff, general manager, and our.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's good to virtually meet everyone. So as you said, I'm the new mayor of the city of Clarence Rockland. And this happened obviously due to a huge loss in our municipality, a huge loss in Prescott Russell, as well as for the Conservation Authority. My job here is honestly for today is to really pay attention to how this actually proceeds. I've read everything through, but obviously I do have some questions. This is all brand new to me, so I do ask for your patience, and I thank you all for the warm welcome, and I'm looking forward to working with every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. And please feel free to have any question you need, and if I'm sure our staff will be more than happy to answer you. And I volunteer our general manager, Angela Coleman, to making sure that answer all the questions we can have for you. And if we can't deliver them today, I'm sure we'll deliver them at a later time today. So thank you very much for joining us. You have a great mandate for the resident of Clarence and Rockland, and we're very happy to have you as a new addition to our board. So we do have a regret this morning from Councillor Catherine Kitts. I think she's at CPS this morning, and she's dealing with the towing file at the City of Ottawa. This is a major file, but we get that. And I know I have Dana and Francois have to leave by 11 o'clock. So we do have a quorum. I'm assuming I'm going to ask our general manager to just do a roll call before we start, so we can know who we have with us on the call.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Good morning. First, I have with me in chamber George DeRuse, Pierre Leroux, Pastor Bill Smurl, Michael Brown, City of Ottawa has just joined us online. Dana
Present.
Dana Farkas. I believe I saw Dana join. Dana, if you can unmute yourself later on and let us know.
Yeah, I'm here, Angela, sorry.
Thank you very much. I see John Hunter and Jerry Couts.
Yes.
Thank you. And I see Archie Mack and Francois. Thank you.
Yes, here.
Steve Densham, I see.
Yep, here.
Rachel from Councillor Kitt's office joining us as well. And we have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. And before we move forward to our second item, before we move forward to our in our meeting, I'd like to ask the approval of SNC Board Director main and supplemental agendas, please. I see Pierre and Bill. Any for the agenda for September 2016, 2021? Any adding or any supplement? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. We have any declaration of conflict of interest? Seeing none, thank you. And of course, this is a very important This is very important time in our meeting this morning, and that's probably, Mario, you'll be very interested in listening and hearing to that one. That will be a full presentation from our staff to give us an update on what's been going on in our watershed. They give us very good information, and feel free to ask any question. Without further ado, we're gonna start with our staff presentation, and I think the first update is coming from Julian.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Julian Ward. I'm a fourth-year student at the University of Ottawa in civil engineering and computing technology. I just started last week my 4-month co-op term here at SNC in the engineering department. And yeah, I'm really excited to get started. And thank you again for inviting me to the board of directors meeting, and thank you for this experience.
Well, very welcome, Julian. We're very happy to have you part of our team. I know that you're going to find a great environment to work with, especially with your engineer background. And I know that the experience that we have here in our at SNC. So welcome, and on behalf of the executive and our general manager, we're looking forward to work with you. Our next presenter is Brent.
Good morning, members of the board. On municipal drains, so SNC has been awarded just under $10,000 from Fisheries and Oceans Canada, or DFO for short, to classify municipal drains in our watershed that are unrated. So SNC completes this work annually in the summer and fall, where our staff will go out and sample fish and flows within these municipal drains to give a classification to the drain. So these drainage classes are then used with the superintendents, drainage superintendents, DFO, and with landowners and farmers, so that we can use the class to inform them how they can clean out these drains and when and what time of year, so as to accomplish drainage objectives, but also respect the fish and fish habitat within those drains. So a couple of pictures here. One of the drains we did this year happened to have a over 150-year-old railway bridge that the drain goes through, and you can see we catch smallmouth bass, so not always just small forage fish. We do catch our larger sport fish in these drains that do end up in our larger rivers downstream eventually.
Thank you very much, Brent, for the update and presentation. Any question from the board? I see Archie's hand. Please go ahead, Archie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curiosity, what is the percentage of drains that have been classified in the South Nation watershed? There can be holdups. We're experiencing some dealing with DFO, but what is the percentage of drains that have total drains that have been classified or updated?
Yeah, good question. I can get you the exact percentage. I don't have that offhand right now, but we do have quite a few drains in our watershed. I believe there's over 1,000, and there are still a good number to have rated. So they're not rated right now. So we do maybe 6 to 10 a year. So we're slowly getting that number done, but I can get the actual percentage to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brent, for if you can relay those information to Archie after the meeting. We appreciate that today. We have another question from board member Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering, what are the classifications you give to them?
Yeah, so there's a number of classifications drains can have, and it follows, an A through F, where, for example, an F-rated drain would be one that goes dry on an average year. So its maintenance and management would be a little bit simpler with respect to how it can be cleaned out and when, versus maybe a C-rated drain, which would be a drain that is flowing year-round and has sensitive species like, for example, northern pike in it that spawn during the spring. So we don't want to see those drains being cleaned while they're flowing in the spring.
Thank you very much, Brent. And I don't see any more questions. You can go ahead with your next slide for your presentation.
So here's another project and some more funding SNC was awarded. We were recently lucky enough to get $14,000 in funding from the Canadian Wildlife Federation to support the creation of a pollinator habitat at our newest conservation area, the Mill Run Conservation Area. So site prep for this project will take place in 2022, and we'll be seeding the site in the fall of 22. And then into the future, this site will be used to showcase to municipalities and our member counties how pollinator habitat can be established in rights of ways and utility corridors and along roadways and highways, and can really lower the bottom line or of municipal budgets, because these types of habitats can act as a lower maintenance alternative to the traditional mowing and spraying that's usually done in these areas.
Thank you very much, Brent. Any question on the update or the presentation? Seeing none, thank you very much, Brent, and we appreciate the presentation this morning. We're going to move forward to Kat.
Kat, you may go on mute.
Okay, maybe you're on mute, Kat. We can't hear you.
I don't see Kat on the participant list. Is there anyone who can pick up this slide for her?
Yes, thank
we
you.
can-
I can take that if that's okay. And Sandra, you can pop in if you have any comments. Kat just wanted to let the board know that our low water response team did meet last week on September 9th to reactivate our level 1 low water advisory for the South Nation River watershed. This advisory is based on the stream flows and precipitation amounts that have been received and looking at those 3-month historical trends. Previously, the team did meet in August to downgrade the notice because of the increased rainfall that we did receive in July. However, that was followed up with very sporadic rainfall that was not received throughout the jurisdiction, was not able to recharge any of our streams. Sandra, did you want to go ahead and provide any additional comments?
I think you have done a good job. If there is any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Sandra. And thank you, John, for the presentation on behalf of Kat. Any question or comment from a board member? Thank you very much, both of you, for taking on the slide, and we're going to move to Rhonda.
Good morning, members of the board. This past Tuesday, we had the pleasure of hosting staff from Ontario Power Generation, 2 from the Toronto office and 3 from the Renfrew office. These staff are involved with the Regional Biodiversity Program, for which we have 2 active contracts. We have a contract that started last year, wrapping up next year for a value of $200,000, and one that was recently approved earlier this year for $60,000 that will run through to 2023. So we did have an opportunity to visit a couple of the project sites, one being the Healing Place and the second being J. Henry Tweed Conservation Area in Russell. And Chris and Michelle both did excellent jobs summarizing those projects and answering questions for the staff. So it's always great to have our funders actually come out and see for themselves the work on the ground.
For sure, very good update, and I'm glad that the work has been done. Thank you very much, Rhonda. Do we have any question? Seeing none, thank you, Rhonda. Your next update is still yours.
Yes, thank you. I thought I would give a quick update on our woodlot advisory service, the grants that we provide for forest management plans, so that landowners may apply to the Forest Managed Tax Incentive Program. So we do have programs available in United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, and United Counties of Prescott Russell. These are 100% funded by the counties and delivered by South Nation Conservation. So to date, we've have 23 landowners that were approved for just over $11,000 in SD&G, which brought an additional 1,540 acres of forest under new management plans. We also provide free site visits to woodlot owners to help provide resources to them for managing their woodlots. In Prescott and Russell, we have 38 grants approved for $19,000, adding just over 2,700 acres of new forests under management plans. That funding is fully allocated now for 2021. We do still have some available in Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry.
Thank you very much. I see Francois's hands. What, Francois?
Yeah, thank you. Rhonda, those 2,723 acres, is that new forest under management plans?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
that's correct. There may also be one or two that have done renewals. So I believe it's every 10 years they're required to renew their plan, but the
All right.
majority of those are new.
okay. You have any idea about how much in UCPR there are under management plans? The total acreage?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can send that to you. I know that Cheyenne was keeping a running tally since we started the program, so I can email that information to you, Francois.
Yeah, because just a memo to the board members, when you have people saying the counties and nobody does anything about safeguarding forests, well, that is one issue that we can pass on to them, like the amount of just this year, like almost 3,000 acres of protected forest. So there is stuff being done. Okay, that's my point here.
Okay,
We can get that information together, Mr. Chair. Yeah. Next slide.
And just a quick update on the Ottawa Ash Tree Replacement Program. So again, this program is funded by the City of Ottawa. South Nation Conservation delivers on behalf of the city and our neighboring conservation authorities. So the program is available citywide. We have funded to date 36 landowners at about $79,000, replacing about 250,000 trees. And I thought I would share with you some feedback from a landowner that went through the program that is very, very pleased and thankful to have the opportunity to remove their dead and dying trees and replace them with new native species. So there is still funding available in this program as well. So anyone in and around the Ottawa area, please feel free to send landowners our way if they have ash trees that need to be replaced. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
very much, Rhonda, and this is a very good program that in partnership with our with South Nation. Any question or comment? Seeing none, thank you very much, Rhonda. Our next update and presentation is from Pat.
As the board may be aware, both the SNC and SDG forests are both certified under an international body, the Forest Stewardship Council, and that certification is set against a set of standards relating to regulatory requirements, social requirements, and ecological requirements. And each year, we're required to report on the status of our work in the forest through a series of annual reports. In July, we submitted the annual reports for the current year. In August of this year, we were subject to an internal audit. We're part of a group certification, and the umbrella includes all of the community forests across, most of the community forests across Southern Ontario, and the certificate is held by the Eastern Ontario Model Forest. And we've had a new coordinator assigned to us. It's Glenn Prevost, and we met him on August 10th during an inspection. Staff were introduced to him, and that internal audit went very well. We have also since been selected for the third-party audit. This is the audit that's done by the FSC Council, and they hire a certification consultant to come in and audit our operations. This will happen on both the SNC and SDG County Forests in November.
Thank you very much, Pat, for the information and the update. We have any question or comment from our board directors? Thank you. Seeing none, next presenter, and we have John.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chair. A few quick updates from me this morning on our outreach and fundraising initiatives for this fall. Many board members will recall usually traditionally in August, we would host a golf tournament, Friends of SNC golf tournament, to raise funds for a specific community project or tree planting programs. Last year, we did host an online Art for Trees silent auction that raised $7,000 to support our tree planting programs this spring, and that was done instead in place of the golf tournament. Staff, with the support of the Communications Committee, are looking ahead to this October to host a similar online silent auction, this year targeted to some local wood wares in the form of a wood auction. Traditionally, we would have partnered with Weirs and the SDG Woodlot Association to have helped support the Wood and Forest Fair and wood auction that has taken place in Dunvegan and Riceville in the past. So we're looking to this event as a month-long campaign to help showcase some of our local woodworking artisans and hopefully as a way to raise some money for our tree planting programs as well. So we're looking forward to launching this event soon, and we're looking to October for that promotion. If we can go to the next slide. I also wanted to update the board on the postponement of our annual bus tour. This is something traditionally that we would have hosted in September to bring board members, politicians, municipal council members, and the public around the jurisdiction to showcase some of the work that we've done in the preceding year, often focusing on project stops and program implementation. Due to the ongoing pandemic, we have recommended to postpone this activity. And if we go to the next slide, we are looking to host an alternative online virtual engagement so that we can still talk about the good work that we did while also connecting with the community. So we are looking again to October to hosting a virtual town hall as a form of a replacement activity to that usual bus tour event. So the date has not been selected yet, but you can expect to receive a memo in the coming weeks with additional details on this virtual town hall, how it will enroll, and we're also hoping that this event will help showcase the month-long campaign and online silent auction for woodworking that we'd like to host in October as well. And if there are any questions, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, John. We're looking forward for those dates to come available, and I'm sure that we will be participating and be part of it to showcase our watershed and, of course, all the good work that our South Nation staff does around in the watershed. So thank you very much. Any question or comment from our board members? Thank you very much, John. Our next presenter will be Shannon.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. Next year in 2022, SNC will be celebrating its 75th anniversary. So to commemorate this very important milestone, we will be looking to design a 75th logo. We'll be working with TD Graham. They're familiar with their work. We feel it's a good fit. They designed the 70th logo. We're also looking at a signature event called Take a Hike, a 75-kilometer challenge. It will encourage watershed residents of all abilities to mark 75 kilometers of trail use throughout the year. So whether it's running, hiking, snowshoeing, kayaking, it will encourage them to get out throughout the watershed at our conservation areas. We're also taking a look at rebranding existing events such as the fish camps and also new fundraising partnerships. And part of the celebration, we're also looking to host an open house with an eco-education day to bring schools to our office.
Thank you very much, Shannon. This is very exciting. Where the time goes, 5 years ago, we were just planning and celebrating our 70th. So we appreciate the work. And I know that Vice Chair Pierre, he will be very excited to take a hike on the 75-kilometer challenge. You can count on that. So we appreciate we appreciate the update. Sorry, Pierre, put you like that on the spot. But any question or comment from the board member? Thank you, Shannon. We're really excited. We'll be here to help you and support you. So we appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Our next presenter update coming from Allison.
Good morning, everyone. An important role that South Nations planners play is the review of local planning documents. And, you know, to be honest, it's easy to overlook these documents. No one really wants to sit down and read them. They're very long and complex. But I have to say, the time we invest in reviewing these documents really prevents a lot of costly and time-consuming amendments when a development actually wants to proceed. So right now we are working with North Stormont on their zoning bylaw. We've given them some valuable comments on wetlands and how to improve some of the wording. In that case, there was some confusion there that we were able to clear up with our technical expertise. In Edwardsburg Cardinal, we're working on, I think, one of the most progressive zoning bylaws for drinking water protection. So I'm really excited to see that go to the public meeting and see what people think. And of course, we put a lot of time into reviewing official plans as well. For example, the City of Ottawa currently going through and almost ready to finish their official plan update, which is amazing. Also looking forward to working with the United Counties of Prescott Russell as they update their official plan. So this is something that we are working to get even better at, and we will be looking to create consistent policies that can be just provided to municipalities for easy update early on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alison, and we understand and we know those are very important milestones in our municipality across the board, because those are they shape our future and how we move forward with our planning. I do have a question for you from Steve before we move to our next presenter. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a question, just a comment. And you're right, Alison, some of these documents will very much support the insomniac when you start reading through the hundreds of pages. And a couple of things did pop out to me when I was reading through our zoning changes that we were doing. And I was really appreciative of the fact that South Nation was proactively already addressing some of the things that kind of stood out to me. And so it's very, very much appreciated.
That's really good to hear. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for your comment, Steve. And any other question or comment? Seeing none, thank you, Alison. Our next presenter, an update coming from Jason.
Good morning, members of the board. SNC staff are finalizing several asset management documents with regards to our water control structures. These documents include an asset management plan, which highlights each structure and lists items such as overall cost, lifespan, and risk. A 10-year horizon work plan, which forecasts major works and larger one-off projects. And a yearly maintenance schedule, which identifies items such as annual maintenance activities and inspection schedules. These are all considered living documents and will be updated as new information presents itself. These documents will also be used when preparing our annual budgets and help us better understand the cost to own and operate these structures. And Sandra will also be presenting a report on our water control structures later in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Any question or comment? Our next presenter is Shaheen.
Yes, thank you and good morning. During these past few months, one task that I was working on was hydraulic modeling of Bear Brook River. So this river includes 11 streams. For that, I had access to an accurate LiDAR map, which enabled me to cut over 1,300 cross sections. And also in this region, we have 74 culverts and 36 bridges. So my colleagues here, they surveyed almost all of these structures, and they provided me with up-to-date information in this regard. So having these cross sections and structures information, I created the structure of the model. But to run the model, the hydrology group here in engineering office, they did an incredible job on flood flow analysis. So they came up with different scenarios of floods with different return periods from 2-year to 350-year return period. So with this, I actually ran the model and created the flood extent for 100-year event. So the model is ready, the results are ready, and the sensitivity analysis is ready. And now the model and results are being reviewed by my colleagues here, and the time that it's finalized, it can go to a peer review.
Thank you very much, Shaheen, for the update. And the great work you do. I'm sure that this is a major project and there is a lot of work involved, so we appreciate everything. Any comment or question from the board? Seeing none, thank you very much. We're going to move to Saber.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, members of the board. I would like to actually also welcome Mario Zanth for the new mayor of the Clarence Rockland, as this project is actually directly related to that jurisdiction. Continuing to our efforts to protect people and their property from natural hazards, we're studying Ottawa River to elevate and update our understanding of potential flooding hazard and to map flooding hazard areas. Currently, we are studying a 60-kilometer of Ottawa River reach from Rocklands to Hawkesbury, as shown in this figure on top, and with the red rectangular. The study that is in cooperation with local municipalities, the province, and Ottawa River Regulatory Board includes a comprehensive hydrological analysis that encompasses a wider area. So we're studying different Water Survey Canada flow data for statistical analysis from Chatsfall to Caroline Dam, and then as the second part of this study is the hydraulic modeling that includes not only some computer modeling but some field surveys that has been done and some will be done in close future. Once the flood mapping is finished, we are also going to we're analyzing wind and wave analysis, and additionally we're investigating effects of ice cover to any probable winter floodings as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Saber, for the update and the great work that you guys doing throughout this difficult time. I know that Rockland and to Hawkesbury, this is a very important work in the watershed, so we appreciate all that. Do we have any question or comment from our board member?
If I could, I just wanted to say, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for this, because this is clearly an issue in our region. We've been through it twice recently. We continue to fear the spring because we just never know what's going to happen. So yeah, I truly appreciate the work that's being put in. And Sabra, I'm sure that we'll have a chance to speak offline at some point soon. Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thank you, Mario, and thank you, Saber, for the update. And we have no more questions, so we're going to move to our next presentation. Next presenter and update is Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, all. Today we're going to go back to the Ottawa River. It seems to be on point with the last slide. So yeah, sometimes we're dealing with flooding, but sometimes we're dealing with potentially unstable slopes. So as you know, the regulation program deals with natural hazards of various types. So what I wanted to bring to your attention today is how fortunate we are to have the expertise in-house of our technical staff. They don't often get as many accolades as they deserve. So we go out on site oftentimes and take some measurements and take some pictures, and then we have discussions with the technical staff to help them make their early on decisions, because we understand that we don't want to put people through a bunch of extra studies that they don't need at expense for no reason. So we're very cognizant of that fact, and we do our best to minimize what the resources people have to spend to undertake a development while still ensuring that we're keeping them safe. So oftentimes I go out on site and bring back the data for the technical staff, and sometimes I even drag them out. I mean, Mike likes his desk and Sandra as well, but once in a while we drag them out on site with us because it's just better to have a look at it yourself. So that's some of the things that happen in the background as part of the program to keep people safe through this process we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and we appreciate all the work, and I'm sure that the staff that behind the scene that they help solve this problem and work with our resident in the watersheds and municipalities. Any question or comment? Seeing none, thank you very much, Jeff. And then now we're going to move forward with John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And a final slide in our staff update this morning, just on our monthly visitation at our conservation areas throughout the region. The chart on your slide shows all of the monthly visitor counts that were recorded at each of our conservation area entrances. Recall, these are estimates. Some of our parks have more than one entrance, but it does give us a pretty good snapshot in time of where people are visiting and when they visit, and allows us to compare our trends to previous years. You'll recall that last year we did set records at all of our conservation areas, substantial records, over twofold increases in our expected visitation. At this point last year, we had received or recorded 117,000 visitors by August at our conservation areas. This year, as of the end of the last month, we've recorded 145,000. So we're very happy to see that people continue to use our parks and our facilities to get outdoors and to step into nature. And we're thankful to have this monitoring program to help us track visitation, and it really does help with our response to our park needs. So thank you to the board for the support of this program, and we will continue to welcome people at our conservation areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Very happy to see all these numbers and the stat that you keep presenting to the board and to the members, of course, and to our viewer to keep in mind how we are managing our conservation areas. So thank you very much. And any question or comment in the meantime? Seeing none, this conclude our presentation, like John mentioned, but I want to take a moment to thank all the staff and I'm sure the general manager that for the hard work they do behind the scene to present to us every month in our meeting those updates. They're I find them very important, very helpful, and it gives an idea overall to our board member and to our viewer how we are serving and working in our watershed to keep our conservation and our environment moving forward. So thank you very much on behalf of the board and executive. Our number 4 on the agenda, we've concluded that. Number 5, we have a request approval board of directors meeting minutes of August 19, 2021, and we're going to do them together, and special meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2021. The recommendation is the member approve the board directors electronic meeting minutes of August 19, 2021, and electronic special meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2021 as submitted. Angela?
Mr. Chair, just point of order, if we do them as a global motion, it's fine, but the board member that moves in seconds would have had to been at both meetings.
Yes, for sure. Thank you very much. So as we heard from our general manager, because we're going to have a global motion, the mover and the seconder has to be in both meetings. So can I have a mover and seconder, please? I see Pierre and I see Francois. Thank you very much. And all in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried. We have we're going to move to number B right now, and we have SNC. Number 1 is Forestry Committee. So the board director approved the actions and recommendation of the following committee meetings. 1 is Forestry Committee electronic meeting minutes of September 7, 2021. And number 2, Fish and Wildlife Committee electronic meeting minutes of September 7, 2021. And number 3 is the Water Response Team electronic meeting minutes of September 9, 2021. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'm a little bit late, but can I suggest that 1A and B from supplemental be numbers 4 and 5 here? They're both committee reports and they were held very recently, but it makes sense to me to try to complete the 5 of them at once.
Sure.
Yeah, so Mr. Clerk, just for that, mover and seconder of the agenda and supplemental agendas are Pierre Leroux and seconder was Bill Smurl. So Mr. Smoy tabled that. You do all agree that that's fine to add that?
Everybody's okay with that?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair.
And so to clarify that, Mr. Chair, what we would be doing in effect is right now, just a clarification on the motion. Do we wish to add to items 1 through 3 appearing right now on the screen, items 1A and B of the supplemental agenda and make those items 4 and 5 of this recommendation? I can read that in if you wish, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Okay, so instead of the recommendation reading, the Board of Directors approved the actions and recommendations of the following committee meetings. 1, Forestry Committee electronic meeting minutes of, Could you put that back up? I was just reading it in. Okay, so just read that back.
Sorry,
in.
just a second. I'll be there in a second.
Thank you. I have it here, Mr. Chair. I can read. The Board of Directors approved the actions and recommendations of the following committee meeting. 1, Forestry Committee electronic meeting minutes of September 7th, 2021. Item 2, Fish and Wildlife Committee electronic meeting minutes of September 7th, 2021. Item 3, Low Water Response Team electronic meeting minutes of September 9th, 2021. Adding number 4, Clean Water Committee meeting minutes of September 3rd, 2021. Adding number 5, Communications Committee meeting minutes of September 14th, 2021.
Mr. Chair, it was Clean Water 13th of September.
September 13, I was just gonna say that.
Did I say that wrong? Sorry.
It's okay.
Mr. Chair.
Just for September 13, it is not September 3.
Yeah, September 13th.
3 and 13.
So many things in front of me, September 13th.
Thank you very much, Angela. And I think, can I have a mover and seconder for the motion? I see Archie's hand and I see John. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much. And we took 2 items off the supplementary agenda. Thank you very much. So now we have number 6. It's a new business. And we start with A. We have an Conservation Authority Program, Natural Hazard Management and Water and Erosion Infrastructures. We have Allison and Sandra. I think they have a small presentation.
Good morning, board members. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The report can be found in the agenda in pages 34 to 38. So staff has been presenting to you the past 3 months updates on SNC programs. Today, we continue with the same trend. This month, Alison and I are presenting the water erosion infrastructure and natural hazard management programs. These programs are supported by municipal levy, recent federal funding under the National Disaster Mitigation Program, and the Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources, and Forestry, which are the transfer payments in section 39. Next slide, please. So this is an overview just to interpret the natural hazard management. So managing the risk of flooding and erosion is one of South Nation's primary roles under the Conservation Authorities Act. Our goal is to reduce the impacts of flood and erosion to prevent risk to life and minimize property damages. The Natural Hazard Management Program follows the principles in the Emergency Act, which are prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. The table in the slide illustrates the goals and tools used to achieve each of these principles. The goal of prevention is to manage the development in areas of risk. We do so by implementing the regulations under Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. The tools used to implement the regulations are the floodplain mapping, stream flows, precipitation, LiDAR, aerial photography, just to mention some. The goal of mitigation is to provide protection against flood and erosion. That protection is provided by channelizing rivers, dikes, and berms. The goal of preparedness and response is to provide warning and take action during a flood. The tools that we use, they are the flood forecasting and warning program, weather stations, stream flows, snow, and ice. Recovery deals with the flood aftermath. So in that, we take the opportunity to assess the impacts and move ahead to update mapping if it is required. In the next slides, we will touch in every one of these elements of the natural hazard management at SNC. Next slide, please. So the next slide is the water and erosion control infrastructure. So South Nation maintains 7 water control structures in key locations throughout the watershed. South Nation also completed 4 channelization projects. The first slide shows our 2 dams. The photo on the top left of the slide shows the Chesterfield Dam. Main goal of the dam is flood control, low flow augmentation, and recreation. The Chesterfield Dam is the only structure that SNC operates in year long. The photo on the bottom shows the Chrysler Dam, and the main goal of the Chrysler Dam is flood control and flood augmentation. Next slide, please. SNC also owns 3 weirs, Russell, Plantagenet, and Castleman. The main goal of these weirs is flow augmentation. You can see them in the pictures in the slide. The Castleman weir, which is the bottom picture, is the only structure that is being used to generate electricity. Next slide, please. The first picture in this slide shows the Chrysler Dam. This is a flood control structure. The Chrysler dike protects the Chrysler township from the flood. The Segenborn berm, located along the South Nation River at the Nation municipality, protects houses from erosion, and it can be seen in the bottom slide. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, 4 channelization projects took place. The first one was Plantagenet, the South Nation River in Chesterfield, the south branch of the South Nation River that is shown in the picture on the top left of the slide. And the last one is the Augusta Township, and you also can see the picture during the construction of the South Nation River in the bottom photo. Next slide. SNC water and erosion control structures are annually inspected by staff. We also hire qualified engineers every 10 to 15 years to complete assessment of these structures. All the reports and yearly inspections are considering when we prepare our yearly plans. Right now, we are working in a 10-year capital plan that will be brought to the board. Next slide. So as you know, we have infrastructure projects that they are capital projects. To afford those capital projects, SNC applies for external funding. From 2018 to 2020, SNC obtained funding from the National Disaster Mitigation Program for a major upgrade at the Chesterfield Dam. And this is the photo that you can see in the top. Is contractors repairing the concrete at the dam. As well, we completed dam safety assessment for Castleman and Russell weirs. The offset funding for this project was 50%. We also applied to a provincial grant called Water Erosion Control Infrastructure Grants. Annual transfer payments under Section 39 of the Conservation Authorities Act assist our nation with the maintenance of the dam. As you recall, in 2019, the Section 29 payment was reduced, and this affects the portion of the payment that is allocated to water control structures, and it was reduced 50% from 40,000 to 20,000. Now I'm going to let Alison to present her slides.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
As you know, our office does quite a bit of natural hazard planning and floodplain mapping, and this is essential. However, the way we implement these mapping and planning is to use our Conservation Authorities Act and its regulations. So what I'm talking about today is how we manage through the Conservation Authorities Act these natural hazards. The Act is the foundation of South Nation's work to protect people and property, and it's what allows us to require permission for development in and near these natural hazards that we identify and map. Our regulation program enables us to ensure that development is safe and that hazards are handled proactively. Next slide. Applicants to the program are required to submit their plans and their supporting technical information to our office that supports their proposal. Our program operates on a fee-for-service basis and is also based on our board-approved fee schedule. The proposed works that are brought to our office are evaluated against our board-approved policies, and the permits are also brought to our board monthly. Next slide. The costs related to this program are generally cost recovery. However, it's important to note that enforcement is not always cost recoverable. In some cases, the enforcement activities do result in retroactive permit fees, which are double the normal fee, but there are often costs that are incurred above and beyond this. This includes complex situations. Often we'll be on site with multiple levels of government, helping both the municipality and the resident negotiate that, which can be very complicated on water bodies, as I'm sure some of you are aware. There are also a number of complaints that are referred to us that don't ultimately result in permits or fees. These are often situations where we are supporting our municipal partners or residents to resolve issues including drainage or pollution. Our staff currently have a number of active cases, and I did want to note that this is not, this is a bit higher than usual. We believe this to be related both to our development pressures in the watershed, but also the COVID-19 pandemic. As I'm sure many municipalities will agree, we've seen more complaints and much more complicated complaints in the last year and a half or so. Thank you.
Now we are going to talk about the natural hazards mapping and management. So Alison mentioned to you the section 28, and these will be the tools that our staff use to implement section 28. The mapping of flood and erosion hazards is critical for successful emergency planning and flood response. South Nation jurisdiction contains approximately 8,735 kilometers of streams, which includes a small tributary. We have a very large jurisdiction and development pressure in some areas of those jurisdictions, which means that some of the floodplain maps will require updates over the next 10 years. And also, it might require new mapping in some areas. The map in the slide, it shows to you the 1980 map. This map were a series of paper maps. And to develop these maps, they use approximations as they were limited topography. So they are not viewer friendly and they are not friendly to give it to the public. Next slide. So the modern hazard mapping, things have changed. With the advances of technology, the hazard mapping has been modernized. The topography now is more precise. The top right photo shows the results of LiDAR technology, where you can see the changes in topography when you see the changes of color in that photo. The integration of the digital geographical information system, what we call GIS, and models facilitate the production of hazard maps and tools. As an example, the map at the bottom of the slide, it shows you the difference of a water depth during a 100-year flood. You can see the difference in colors, and just that's how the depth is changing. In addition, these maps are now digital, which makes the information available to the municipalities and the public very easily, and also it's going to be very easy to produce updates when they are necessary. Next slide. So when the timing and technology and treasure line up, all is good news. The technology and the support of federal grant programs have made it possible for SNC to update and prepare new floodplain maps in partnership with municipalities. The slide shows the approximate investment in topography collection and hazard mapping between 2013 and 2020, and the projected investment for 2021 and 2022. A 10-year hazard mapping work plan is underway, and we are planning to bring it to the Board of Directors for approval when it's completed. Next slide. So other tools that we are doing, we are preparing with the hazard mapping, we're identifying structures and population at risk in the floodplain. You can see in this picture, in the map, you see the floodplain in light blue color, and we can identify and list these houses that they are in the floodplain. What is the advantage? Well, the advantage is that if it is an emergency managers can have directly that locations and access to the residents. Next slide. Now we pass to the third section of the report, the forecasting watershed conditions. So we were talking about development and trying not to have development in the floodplain. But realistically, we do have houses and development in the floodplain from the past. So one of South Nation's primary mandates is to reduce the risk to life and damage to property caused by flooding and drought. SNC's flood forecasting and warning and low water response programs responds to the changing environment, meets the needs of our municipality and the safety of our residents and the property. SNC's role is to collect data and monitor locations, assess local conditions and weather forecast for risk of flooding and drought, prepare advance notice of flooding conditions, and report to the water response team in case of a drought. Next slide. To assess local conditions, to provide flood and drought warnings, SNC complete year-round watershed monitoring. Here in the slide, you can see the network, our monitoring network. So what we collect precipitation, we have stream flows, snow, we're doing snow and ice surveys, and we collect groundwater levels. In addition, South Nation tracks meteorological models and forecast. This information is used in SNC's hydrological model to predict future watershed conditions. SNC issues flood and drought notices to local agencies and the public to ensure preparedness. Next slide. To be strong, we just develop strong partnerships. So to achieve our goal, we have established partnerships with 10 Eastern Ontario conservation authorities. Together, we bought what is called the water integration system. You probably have heard before the word whiskey. That's the water integration system. So all data is automatically downloaded in that system and is available to staff to be analyzed. We have also a partnership with the Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. We improve our monitoring network by adding 11 real-time monitoring stations and develop the SNC watershed model. We partnership with the Ottawa River Regulation Planning Board, Mississippi Valley and Rideau Valley Conservation Authorities to improve the warning system along the Ottawa River. Due to this partnership, now we have a consistent approach in our messaging to all the municipalities along the Ottawa River. Next slide. It's important to notice that we have to assess the impacts of climate change to natural hazards. Our jurisdiction has experienced two of the biggest floods of the decade, the Ottawa River and the St. Lawrence River, which they can be seen in the photos in the slide. The climate is changing, and we are assessing the impacts of it. We are currently working in the 2020-2021 Climate Change Vulnerability Assessment in the South Nation watershed. Once complete, it will be brought to the board. This report might guide us in selecting areas of concern for natural hazards. We are also working with the City of Ottawa in the resiliency plan to ensure that it is consistent with our present approach. And that concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Sandra and Alison. Very important report and lots of information to to take in, and there is a lots of good information, partnership, protect our watershed, and we remember all of us not too long ago, all the floods that happened in 2017, all the way on the Ottawa River. So thank you very much for the information, for the update, and for this great presentation. So we have any question or comment from our board member? Seeing none, we have a recommendation. The board directors receive and file the Conservation Authority Programs, Water and Erosion Infrastructures and Natural Hazards Management Update. I have a Jerry and Dana. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried. And we move to B, request for approval, environmental impact statement service agreement. And then we have Michelle on with us if she want to talk about, she have a comment or she want to say anything about this agreement. I can read the recommendation, Michelle, and if the board directors approve entering into service agreement with the Township of South Stormont to complete an environmental impact statement for the Long Sault East Industrial Park for a total of approximately $16,960 plus HST, and this information is on your report. It's on your agenda from page 39 to 49, if I'm not mistaken. Michelle, you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Township of South Stormont is planning to expand an existing industrial park in the Long Sault area, and it's going to be called the Long Sault East Industrial Park. Now, as part of this development, the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry official plan requires that they complete an environmental impact statement so that any impacts on existing or potential natural heritage features on the site, so things like wetlands, woodlands, any water courses, can be assessed and determined how mitigations can be put in place so that those negative impacts are minimized. The township had approached South Nation to complete the environmental impact statement for phase 1 of their development back in March, and that work was completed successfully, and the township has since requested that South Nation complete an environmental impact statement for the remainder of the industrial park. So we provided a quote to the township, which they accepted, and we're just proceeding ahead with the service agreement, and the work is going to take place in 2022.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for the great explanation. And then I know that we have a motion in front of us. Can I have a mover and seconder, then we can go to question? I see Steve and John. And do we have any question or comment? All in favor? Thank you, Michelle. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Our next is a request for approval 2022 fee schedule. And Allison's going to go through the report, I guess. We have a report in front of us. I will give the floor to Allison if you want to take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The South Nation's fee schedule is essential to support all of our cost recovery programs that we offer. And we bring this report to the board annually, usually a bit early in September, ahead of budget, to ensure that our fees are approved for the following year. This allows us to give notice to our municipalities as well. Our fees aim to achieve cost recovery around 95% as per direction from the board year over year. Our fee schedule also follows our board-approved fee administration policy and the relevant service contracts that we have with our municipalities. This year, staff are proposing a new major project fee in the regulations section, and this is intended to address a number of large and complex projects that we're seeing in urban areas. And this also includes the potential for ministers' zoning orders, which have occurred in other jurisdictions and are often associated with a number of significant technical and legal review fees. So this is a new thing for us, ministers' zoning orders, and something we obviously hope to avoid through working proactively with municipalities on development. However, it is a possibility that could occur. Staff have also considered the cost of living and consumer price index adjustments, as we do every year. And this is related to expenses in staffing and benefits, as well as increased costs related to travel. So essentially, gas prices are going up. Traditionally, we do a 2% increase, and we round that to the closest $5 increment to keep the fee schedule even. And the adjustment includes, this adjustment is also included specifically in our septic system contracts with municipalities as a clause. It's important to note as well that our fee schedule and our updates are completed in partnership with the other Ottawa CA partners, and we ensure that our fees are consistent across the City of Ottawa. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Alison, and I'm glad to see that we've been proactive and updating our fee schedule. I know that board member, they have a copy of it. They are on our portal, and if there is any question or any comment, we'll take it right now. We'll start with Archie.
Thank you,
Archie,
Mr. Chair. On the fee schedule, on municipal drainage work, and I've been looking, I looked at the fee schedule. If a landowner, for say, is replacing a culvert that's collapsed or broke, and he's just replacing it with the same size culvert, same length, same diameter. If I'm reading this right, it's a $275 charge. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah, that's our smallest fee.
Okay. For $275, like, do staff go out and inspect it? Like, I'm just trying to figure where, the
exactly.
farmer's buying the culvert, he's doing the installation. As a landowner, doesn't necessarily have to be the farmer, but let's face it, I got my farmer's hat on here now. But $275 for him to replace a culvert that's failed with the same size culvert, the whole bit. Does staff go out and inspect this before that, or like before and after, or like why is there that $275?
Yeah, so the $275 is the basic site visit fee, and that's sort of one visit. That would only cover the one visit. So at this point, I'd say a site visit generally is about $200 to $250. And then the additional charge, the $25 there would be sort of the administration, because we keep a record, issue a letter, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it just basically covers that travel cost, and even in planning and septic and regs, we always make sure that site visits are being completed. I think it's essential. And it shows that value to the landowner as well. So that's what we aim for, Archie.
Okay, well, yeah, if it's cost recovery, I was just trying to get my head around where we were spending $275 and why it was costing $275. But it's a 2% cost. And we got, you're saying, Allison, we're at about 95% cost recovery on these things, because most of these services or the fee schedules are, if you will, programs. Some of them are, things that sort of fall outside the core mandate, and there are, fee schedules for municipalities to, pay for services and programs. So at 95%, I like to make sure that none of these funds are from the general levy are used to this. There's an outside source of funding that also applies to this, I believe at the last meeting you alluded to, Allison.
The provincial transfer payment, yeah. So I can tell you that the regulations fees are generally a lower cost recovery ratio than the planning and approvals. And a lot of that, like I said, comes from the enforcement costs. We spend a lot of time working with people and with our municipalities. I know Jeff has shared with me as well, Archie. I'll just tell you, we've made improvements on those small fees. That exact same for same replacement used to be around $600, $700. So we've made a lot of minor fees. Our goal is not to make it difficult or expensive for a landowner to do a small project. We just want to make sure the culvert is, adequately same for same, because we know a bad culvert change can cause a lot of problems for everyone involved. So that $275 fee is something we've implemented recently to reflect a bit more fairness for a smaller scale project. And then what we're trying to do with that major projects fee is actually cost recover on the large, complicated projects that we're seeing. So in my opinion, we are striking a balance of fairness for residents, especially just someone trying to do a small job. So.
Okay, thank you, Alison.
And I appreciate your comments, and they're well taken. Thank you.
Here, Archie, I have a question from John.
Archie brought up the thing about the replacement of culverts being new to this board recently. Is this a requirement of every culvert being replaced on drainage ditches? Because I know in Edgersburg Cardinal, we require our drainage superintendent to approve these culvert changes. So are we getting a double improvement here all the time that we're farmers paying for?
So I know Jeff's listening intently as well, and he may have comments, but I would say that not every water course, not every drain or municipal roadside ditch is regulated. We have mapping, and certain water courses are regulated. Our goal, of course, with the program is to prevent flooding and mitigate any impacts on upstream or downstream landowners. So we have a particular focus when we do the review, John, and if you wanted to look at the mapping for Edwardsburg Cardinal, I could take a look and show you what water courses do require permits and which don't. So it's not always straightforward, but that's where Jeff Owens comes in, and he always applies a very practical approach working with people on these kinds of little projects. So and maybe something I could follow up with you if you're interested to hear more.
Well, maybe if you could forward to our office just a copy of which drainage ditches in Edgersburg Cardinal do require these permits that they are planning. One would have a better idea in our drainage superintendent which ones he's supposed to be applying, have permits applied for.
Yeah, we work pretty closely with those guys, so I would be more than happy to facilitate that for you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, John. And any other question or comment? Seeing none, we have a recommendation. The board directors approve the 2022 fee schedule as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? I see Mario and John. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried. Thank you very much, Sandra and Allison, for the presentation. And we will move to D and 2020. We have 2022 tree planting contract, and we have a Caroline on. If you want to talk a little bit, you want to talk about your motion or your approval, please go ahead, Caroline.
Hi, everybody. So upon receiving bids from contractors regarding the tree planting for next spring, we only received 2 bidders in total, and we had to split the amounts between the 2, considering the limitation of each contractor. So one of them could only plant 50,000 trees, and the other could plant a little bit more, has a larger capacity. So even though that the cost of the contractor A with was the one with the better cost, he could only plant less trees than the other one. So we had to split between the 2. And at this point, we're estimating probably 160,000 cost to tree plant for next year. And that is not confirmed yet. It may change depending on refill numbers that we'll have to do next spring, but we'll have a better idea later as the fall comes by. But for that moment, that's what we're estimating, 160 total between the 2 contractors.
Thank you very much, Caroline. And do we have a question or comment on the motion, on the request? I have Angela.
Yeah, I think too, just it's important for the board of directors to understand the context of why we have to bring the 2022 tree planting schedule at this time of year. The price per tree planting is pretty much in line with what we saw last year. In order to be able to do site visits and to talk to property owners about the programs that we're offering, we kind of need to be able to tell them that this would be the cost they would be looking at as a property owner to plant trees with the program. So it's been a challenging market. It's we as staff are looking at different ways to plant more trees ourselves, to find different tree planting contractor options. But right now, currently, we are having trouble getting a lot of bids. It's just because there's not a lot of contractors planting. So we're glad that the costs are in line with what we paid last year. And so the cost to the property owner will not be going up. And I suppose the good news is we do have contractors available to plant trees in our watershed. But we always hope to get more tree planting contractors in the business, and we haven't seen that. So much like there's a lot of shortages in trade and skilled trade work going ahead, there's quite a shortage in tree planters and contractors with the staff and resources available to plant all these trees. So we'll plant some trees ourselves. We will plant as many trees as possible with 2 different contractors. And this report represents sort of the split of what we expect it to cost and what we can reliably quote to the individuals so that they can make a decision on whether they'd like to plant trees or not in the 2022 year. And our contracts always give us the contractors have bid on a number of different types and ways to plant the trees. And these allocations allow us to choose between the contractors for the best price on different items that they're able to plant. So we pick and choose the best price from the 2 contractors on those different things. If one contractor though can't do everything, we go with the second contractor to help cover that shortfall. So that is the representation of what the tree planting contracts were. And my direction to staff was very clear, is to start early and try and get as many bids as possible. They've done that, they've done a good job on that, but regrettably it's an area where we're just not seeing a lot of people. We saw this ourselves too, we couldn't hire tree planters just to help us do it, to do the work as well. So I just add those as my comments to this industry and just saying it's challenging to get tree planters out there.
Oh, thank you, Angela, and this is very important. It's always good to start early, and then because those programs are well represented in our watershed, and it is a part of our major what we deliver in services. So it's very important. Do we have? I'm going to go ahead with the recommendation, and we can take question if there is any. The board directors award contractor B the 2022 tree planting contract for private land, refill and sites with 500 or more trees at an approximate cost of $40,000 plus HST, and further that contractor A be awarded the 2022 tree planting contract for La Rose Forest as well as remaining refill and private planting sites not allocated to contractor B to an approximate cost of $120,000 plus HST, and further that tree planting can be reallocated between contractor A and B if necessary to meet planting deadline and to allow for contractor capacity. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? I see Pierre and I see Mario. Any question before we go ahead to the vote? All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Caroline, for the request. And we move to E, and we have an update, of course, on sewage permit. And I know Allison here, and I know Monique is on in the field. So go ahead, Allison.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So comments from our septic team this month include still seeing lots of new applications for permits. So people are still trying to either get ahead for next year really early or get some work done. However, we do have quite a few permits that are not going to completion. So people tell us they're waiting on getting foundations installed. They're waiting on different kinds of materials. So there's still shortages in the building industry that we're feeling on our end as we try to adjust how many inspections we complete and how many permits we can get done before the snow flies, which I think Monique told me she expects November 12th or something for the first snow. So I don't know if that correlates with what the farmers are saying, Archie, but We think we have 2 more months of inspections to go this year. So still busy, seeing lots of applications, but inspections are slowing down as people are starting to get to the wind down season of what's available and who's available to do work. Thank you.
Thank you,
You said no,
Alison.
did you say November or December? Let's go for December.
I would like to go for December too, so I'll take your offer on that.
Number 18, and I'm that. 12. But anyway, thank you very much, Alison, and we appreciate all the work Monique does. So basically, if any other question or comment to Alison. So the board director received and filed the on-site sewage permits issued update. I see Michael and I see Jerry. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried. Next update, it's also Alison, and this is about our planning activity. So she'll say a few words. Go ahead, Alison.
Thank you very much. So on the planning side of things, I know James has about 5 subdivisions getting clearance in the city of Ottawa, including developments within the Finley Creek area. So lots of new homes coming in Ottawa. We've seen quite a few new subdivision applications coming as well from Prescott and Russell. Other than that, I'd say as usual this year, we've been very busy with our technical reviews. So lots of stormwater management reviews, quite a few hydrogeological reviews, and the resolution of some difficult hydroge, so groundwater and servicing related issues within the city of Clarence Rockland, able to work with staff there to get some important resolution on files, which was very positive. And other than that, just sort of working on our timelines, keeping our administration tight, and working with people to make sure they get what they need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alison. And every time I look at that map and I look at this dot and the amount of work and application and technical review, it amazes me every time how we keeping up to the workload. So thank you very much on that. And the board directors receive and file the planning activity update. Can I have a mover and a seconder? See John and Steve. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Alison. And now we're going to move to our financial report. We have a request for approval, money received, and the disbursement register.
So, Mr. Chair, we missed one. We missed one. That'll be item 7F.
And Jeff will be giving the update today on regulations.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, I apologize, and we're going to move back to F, planning.
G, permits.
Permit issued from Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Turn my camera on so you can see my shiny head. Good morning again. So yeah, this is the time of the day where I get to explain the permits that we've issued, and maybe for the sake of some of the newer members, under the Conservation Authorities Act, the Board of Directors generally is required to approve these permits, but we have a process in place where the staff review them against the current policies, and the ones that meet policy, where you can negotiate it properly with the landowners, we bring it to you guys retroactively so that we can issue the permit and they don't have to wait for the next board meeting. So that's what this report is. It's my usual monthly housekeeping report that shows the permits that have been issued since the previous board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And the recommendation is the SNC Board Directors approve permits 127 to 149 issued under Ontario Regulation 170/06 development interference with wetlands and alterations to shorelines and water courses. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? I see Dana and I see Jerry. All in favor? Thank you very much. And now we're going to move to our financial. Thank you very much, Angela, for keeping me. I'm going as fast as I can, so I skip things. So.
I know you're going.
I'm trying to accommodate Dana and
yes.
Francois. So.
Yes, we should be able to. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a recommendation. The board directors receive and file the money received report for August 2021, and further that the board approved the disbursement register of $465,168.28 for August 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? I see John and I see Pierre. Question, comment? Carl here for any question? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you very much, and motion carried, Carl.
Thank you.
Now we move to B. The board directed approve acquiring temporary accounting and human resource support service at an approximate cost of 65,000 plus HST, and this is probably an FTE. And I have Linda, if anybody have a question, or if anybody has a comment. It's, can I have a mover and, okay, go ahead, Archie.
Yes, Mr. Chair. If I'm reading this right, Linda, I guess we're looking at 65,000 for 20, how many weeks? 24 weeks? 22 weeks?
Correct, 24. Yeah,
24.
24. Between two services of accounting and some HR support.
Is it just me, or that's a chunk of change? That's, you know, if I equate that to a year's worth of work, which would be $130,000. You know, 24 weeks, basically want half a year. To me, I don't just, you know, I don't disagree that, you know, you probably help in those on those files, but at 65,000 for 24 weeks, it came across to me as rather expensive, you might say.
I can just say that that's an estimate at this point in time, and just looking back at we're faced with some accounting support back in 2015. We did that through a local company that offered us some accounting support for a period of approximately about the same 20 or so weeks, and just using that rate but we would definitely go through a quote process to find the best service.
Yeah, okay. You know, I guess I should have been an accountant. Yeah, it just it's just a little pricey. Are we going to be looking at, you know, we got 2 vacancies there now. Are we going to be filling those vacancies, or how are we going to go about going forward? Like, I mean, this is just a temporary fix at 65,000.
Yeah, the pressure at this point in time, right now, is working towards through the budget process and into the year-end process. Yeah, and as mentioned in the report, we'll be working on a recruitment process.
Yeah.
Angela, have a supplement.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on this. So we have a vacancy that we intend to post. If anyone has seen the municipal postings as of late, I don't know how many times we're going to be posting that position until we're able to successfully recruit a person to backfill the position that we don't have. The individual, and if we want specifics, we'll have to go into closed, because of course we can't discuss in open session matters about individual employees that are identifiable. So if we want to have a discussion, I can say I've got 2 things. I have 1 departure that I think is going to be challenging to replace. I have 1 succession coming up next year, a major succession that is required, that we're going to probably have a little bit of challenge to replace. And we have 1 individual currently on have a baby leave. We don't want to, we would say a leave to have a baby. So we won't say if it's paternal or maternal, but we have someone that's away that has recently given birth. So we have a series of shortfalls in the accounting/human resource area. Those are areas key for the organization. It is a half year. We're looking for some additional support. And by my calculation, I mean, we're talking about positions that sort of haven't been refilled. So these salary dollars are in line with what would have been in salaries budget. So it's not additional monies that we're asking for in addition to our current FTE complement. And it's an area that I hope that you understand and trust when I ask for this, is that we definitely need the support, or we wouldn't ask for it. If I thought we could do a quick rehire, I think we would just be going ahead and posting that position. Just right now, I think we'll see probably multiple additions of that, because it's pretty competitive to get some of these areas. So those are my comments, and I respect that it is some significant funding that we're asking for, but very necessary to meet the obligations of the corporation right now.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for your comment, Angela. I will go let Bill, sorry, any supplement, Archie, or? Okay, go ahead, Bill.
With the explanation, Mr. Chair, with the explanation I've just heard, I'm supportive of the recommendation.
Thank you, Bill, and I will also be supporting the recommendation. We've seen all the amount of work and the backlog we have, and I know that our human resources been really pushing hard for our staff has been working very hard, and we're running thin. So we need the support, we need the help, and to acquire and a temporary accounting and human resources support at that money. It could look at chunk a change, of course, but also the requirement and the qualification these individual has to have. And I think this will fare out in the marketplace. So I will.
Mr. Chair, may I propose something?
Yes,
with the
please go
board?
ahead.
And I don't know if you wish to have this sort of before you make your decision or after the decision, but there are, I'm thinking about some successions that I'm aware of right now. I haven't put it in the agenda. I can do it next month in close, where I talk about some of the upcoming people that are going to be retiring in the next year. Or we can do that now if you want to entertain it now, and you can hear some of the individuals that that would be on the upcoming roster for retirement. So I think probably best if I put that information together in an organized way and bring that back at the next meeting, but I do want to provide that as context for some of what we're asking for today.
Thank you very much, Angela. And Pierre, you have a comment?
Yeah, I would agree. Next month would be fine for me. I think having it in an organized fashion and give you time to put everything on paper is probably best.
I support that too. Is the board in agreement with that?
Well, Mr. Chair,
I see. Yes, go ahead.
Are we going ahead and approving this, knowing that we're going to hear more? In other words, are we going to hear after the fact in November?
I
didn't see as one thing actually being conditional on the other. We are down.
Yeah, we can move forward.
We're down a staff person, and we're down two effectively.
Yeah, we can move forward with that if the board wishes. I know that. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the motion? I see Pierre and John. All in favor? Okay. Motion carried, and then we'll hear from Angela in the next meeting on our succession planning. Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
And now we're going to move to our supplement agenda item number 2, because we dealt with number 1. Thank you very much, Bill, for making us very efficient on the time. Recommendation board director to receive and file the estimated statement of operations for the year ending of December 31st, 2021, as of August 31st, 2021, updated. We have Linda for any question, and you have it in the report on page 11 and 12. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? I see Dana and Jerry. Any question or any comment for Linda? She's here to take any questions. Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you very much, Linda. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Yes, Bill.
Mr. Chair, I probably should have mentioned this way earlier when we moved the two items to the active agenda. But if you have not taken a look at the extensive plans that have been put together for every month of next year by with the work plan for what will happen in the 75th anniversary. Please go to the pages, I think it's 29, 30, and 31 of the Communications Committee report, and just review them to see what's there, and you may have comments on some of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill, and I agree with you and I appreciate the comment. Noted. So we got some dates of upcoming meetings. Third Thursday at 9 a.m. unless indicated otherwise. October 21st to 2021, we have OEMC virtual conference. And November 18, 2021, SNC, we have a budget presentation 2022, and it's going to be long. We have a presentations. We're going to have multiple other report and updates. So I think we give ourselves a little bit extra time. And between then, maybe at that time, we will have, we'll see if our general manager will be able to have some people on site and some people, whatever people to comfortability at that time, we'll keep monitoring the number of COVID. And the other meeting will be December 16, 2021 and January 20th, 2022. We have a Roma conference January 23rd and 25th of 2022. And those are the date to highlight. Thank you very much. And further motion of the board and discussion of SNC issues. Anybody have a comment and anybody have a question or whatever, it's an open, friendly circle. I see that Archie have his hands up, and go ahead, Archie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to try and give you the Reader's Digest version of what I'm going to try and get across here. Our next meeting in October, we're going to be, the levy is going to be presented to us. And I just want to know, I guess, from staff and whatnot. I mean, we've had these updates on the Conservation Authority programs and whatnot. But with the levy coming in next month, and I just want to make sure that all our core mandate programs that are funded under that general levy and any other programs, any under memorandum of understandings or any other programs or services that we offer our municipal partners will be covered under those different agreements and whatnot. And I just want to make sure that we got all our ducks in a row so that we don't get any feedback, negative feedback, or pushback and questions being asked. What's going to be covered under the general levy and whatnot. If possible, I would love to see if staff, and I realize it's on short notice, but even send out an email or a report to our municipalities that showing what programs and services that are actually going to be covered under the general levy. I mean, our fee schedule picks up a lot of programs or services that we provide outside the general levy, that is funded outside the general levy. And we have other funding opportunities that we take advantage of very well. I just want to make sure that, what is covered under the general levy, it was clear, because with the new Conservation Act, the guidelines and the regulations and whatnot, there could be some questions asked. So I just like to make sure that we got all our ducks in a row and our T's crossed. Staff have been, like I say, giving presentations and showing this over the last 3, 4, 5 months, which is great. But a short memo to our municipal partners showing where the general levy, the money will be spent, and what other programs. It doesn't have to be a War and Peace novel, but just for general reference. So that might ward off any questions or pushback or negative feedback that may come from the general levy and the new programs under the new mandate under the Conservation Act. So I'm not sure if I'm getting my point across good enough. I hope I am. But it's like I said, I'd like to see, if staff, Angela or whatever, could give a brief rundown on these things and what's under the general levy and what is under other programs, other funding sources.
Okay, thank you very much, Archie. Angela, you're shaking your.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's,
Thank you.
of course, it's on my mind.
Thank you.
so all
I'm
of
sure
these
it is.
things.
I just want to make sure.
And, yeah, so, yes is the answer to yes, we will go out and provide that information, and we want to have that discussion to ease concerns and to make sure that everybody's on side with the budget. From the administrator's desk perspective, here's how it looks, and you may as well say it to everyone, right? So here's how it looks. We've been told for, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, that we would soon receive regulation about programs and we haven't. So I still don't have that. I don't have anything additional to share from the provincial government as to how that is to roll out. I am told that every day I'm to be accountable and to be transparent and open, all of which I hope that I am to you at all times, and to make sure that everybody's feeling good about that. I would be glad to come to any council that will have me to have that discussion, and certainly prepared to do that in the upcoming months. And as a board, I hope that our presentations each month, and it's my hope for not only as a staff, but as a board and as a community, we all can understand better the programs and services that we're offering, and to make sure that they're meeting the needs. But as to the translation exactly of how that looks, we are waiting for a regulation that I don't have in my hand to tell you exactly how we're to treat that levy. But I do, as of last Friday, later in the day, I did receive finally the municipal levy apportionments from the province. So that allows me to move better with you and have those meetings, because it was going to be challenging to have those without the information that I need to tell you what it means for the levy for 2022. So I just want to tell you that I'm glad to have that. As I said last week, we did finally get that information, but we don't have the regulation. So while I don't have all the specifics of the regulation for the levy breakout, I do have your individual municipal apportionment information that I was waiting for. So I'm ready to start having those meetings, and I hope that those help us as we move forward to having those discussions.
And thank you. And Archie, our offer is still on the table. The executives and with our general manager to meet specifically with your municipality on any issue or any further conversation. As we've been talking about that for almost a year, if we are over, and I know that we are ready to sit down on the table anytime, time available for us, and then we'll have a meeting here in South Nation. I know Pierre and myself and past chair Bill also available with our general manager to meet on that, specifically on that item.
Okay, thank you for that, Angela and Mr. Chair. And could I ask that you maybe even send out a quick email outlining what you've just said, and possibly, extending that invitation? I have put it forward to our staff. I mean, yes, Mr. Chair, things sort of got stalled out. We had talked, probably a year ago, and wanting to do this, but we've just never had the chance. So, if there's any, any apprehension about the levy and the core mandate, that could be, but if you have more information that can be shared with the municipal partners, an email out to not just South Dundas, but to maybe all municipal partners, just to clarify and let everybody know where exactly we're coming from, and the point you just alluded to, Angela, would be good. So thank you for that, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Archie, and we appreciate the conversation and the dialogue. Your hands is down. Okay, I have John. Go ahead, John. Mr. Hunter. You're on mute, Mr. Hunter. Are we good now? Oops.
We've,
You go.
yeah, we've been discussing at our council in Edgersburg Cardinal after some mention at our last SNC meeting about the ash trees dying off and around our various road conditions and talking with our operations manager as well. He was wondering if South Nation could put together any kind of a proposal to work with the townships on evaluating the trees around the road, our roadways, to get them marked if they're hazardous trees, to allow us to be able to take them down, or have some assistance from the SNC forestry crews along that line. We seem to be running into problems with getting Ontario Hydro in places to, when we ask them that we assume that the trees are hazardous to be taken down, and with some landowners that don't want us to cut trees down along the roadway that we deem hazardous, and we believe it'd be a benefit to all the townships if we had some kind of a program that with our forestry ones, if they were to deem these hazardous trees and need it removed, it would give us a lot more clout or authority to be able to take these trees down and get them out of the way before we actually get a windstorm like we had 2 nights ago here in Edgersburg that took down a couple of lines in the township and blocked some roads, and a couple of these trees were in areas where our road crew had wanted to take them down, and the owners refused to let us take them down, and said, well, there's nothing wrong with them. So I was wondering if South Nation had anything that they could do, work with us on this.
Thank you, John, for your question. Angela have probably some answer for you.
Yeah, the proposal for that and a number of other issues that have been identified by the board is started by staff. One thing that I think is important, John, are those county roads or municipal you're talking about? Both?
Well, the ones I'm talking about right now are municipal roads, but the counties, according to our warden, are having some problems on some of the county roads too. But most of them, the roads are wide enough till the trees come down. They don't block the road. They come and take down the hydro lines. Hydro seems to be a lot more proactive on a county road to get trees or trim them out of the way than they are on the municipal roads. So.
No, we haven't talked to Leeds Grenville, but we will do that. And so we're talking to just a couple levels of the municipal staff and the county staff about the issue, just to make sure we didn't have overlap and duplication with what we would come up with. So let us get that together for the full board, because you're not the only one with questions about it. So we'll have a few different elements of that. And I suppose also, if you have ideas as a board member, you can send them my way, because we've started the inquiries into the different elements of this. But if you have specific ideas that you'd like canvassed, can you please put them my way, and we'll put them into that proposal. No promises on a very difficult issue, but certainly that will canvass the issues and put them together to something organized for your consideration.
Thank you. Angela, thank you, John, for bringing the concern forward. And I have a hand from Steve.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I may be repeating myself from a previous meeting, but it's a message I've been asking of the various boards that I sit on. And Angela, you alluded to this as well. I'm looking forward to getting back to face-to-face meetings, but there are times, especially if you know, when you attend a number of different board meetings and they're spread out throughout the year and throughout the months and throughout the weeks, where it is possible, where you know, it would be wonderful to have the option of attending virtually. Because sometimes I find if I'm actually trying to plan vacation and I'm thinking, you know, I can only be away for a week or a week and a half, simply because there's one important meeting that I'd want to attend, where, you know, maybe I could be away on vacation for 3 weeks if I could attend that meeting virtually. So I think through COVID and the improvement in technology that we've been forced to take on through virtual attendance, I would love to see us continue to push forward with the opportunity from time to time to be able to attend virtually. And if that means updating our procedural bylaw accordingly, that would be fantastic. Again, I take these meetings very seriously, and I want to be able to contribute. But there's a life balance as well that can be struck if it is possible to be able to attend virtually from time to time. So I just like to continue to consider that. And like I say, it's a message that I'm delivering to many of the boards that I sit on, given the fact that, like I said, COVID has forced us to improve our abilities with technology.
Thank you, Steve. Noted. And we actually, there is one thing Angela sits on. We have meetings, constant meeting with quarterly with Conservation Ontario, and of course we have legislation rules we have to follow. So, but we'll keep this in mind, and we understand and we noted your comment. Angela, anything you want to add?
No, I think that that's right, Mr. Chair. I know that probably Eric is listening in right now. We've sort of had that discussion with a number of conservation authorities because currently our own legislation doesn't really provide much for that outside of the emergency order, many of which have been suspended at local municipalities. So we need to make sure that we are following that or receive clarification, I guess, from the minister that they're going to approve of that, because we don't want later for anyone to say that there's an error of impropriety to protect both the authority and the individual board members with how we've approached those things.
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah.
And thank you, Steve. Anyone else like to share? I just want to thank you, Mario. It was nice. Hopefully you enjoyed the short meeting that we have today. So give back the time and any comment, please let us know.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best. Okay, so if there is nothing else, I think we can have an adjournment. So yeah. So the board directors meeting of September 16, 2021 to be adjourned at exactly 10:51 a.m. And that's a record, I think. Thank you very much. All adjourned. Thank you, Bill and Pierre. All in favor? Thank you. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, everyone.
I wanted to, that same